Okay, today we're going to be looking at the Alchemist. I believe it was Odds Gaming asked if I could make a video, so we'll just do a short piece on the Alchemist, and then what we'll do is move on to symbols. So here we have the Alchemist. We go into there. So we'll start with these Manipulators. Now with these you've basically got three various ones. You've got you've got all damage, shield durability, and support aura efficiency. Now you see I'm using all damage. That's because I'm running solo, so obviously I need to be able to do damage. If you were playing in a group, you would probably take either one of those, shield or support or efficiency, because you're not actually there in a group to do damage when you're playing as Alch. You're there to buff people and shield them and all the other things that Alchs do, not necessarily fight. I mean, your damage will be so limiting when you're sort of earlier on in the game. Later on you'll become a lot stronger with your Alch. And then you've got your fragments. These are entirely up to you what you want to use. I've got this one equipped at the moment, but it don't always have that one. I use various ones depending on the situation. These are actually special ones. That two of them came from the old game. One actually I picked up completely random somewhere, and the rest of these, they come from Hepsilon Temple, I believe it is. And I think that's the only place you get them. You do get the green ones dropping all over the maps, but not the best ones. So you need to go to the temple for those. This one actually was a complete random one that actually did drop randomly somewhere. It only happened the other day, so they might have introduced this dropping random ones here and there, which would be great if they did. But it's the strongest health bonus one I've got. Obviously it's a generation 6, whereas all the others are... Oh no, there's a generation 6 as well. That's actually a 7. So yeah, it's just the fact that it's a pink or a purple generation 6 which gives it better health, better stats. But I still use that one because it inflicts damage for 6 seconds to other things, whereas this will damage over target with more than 90% health. Does quite a bit, but only one target, so again you just pick whichever one you prefer on that. And also you can quick switch if you want to set this up and put whatever ones in there. You can do that, so you can switch on the fly almost. These things won't matter. These will be whatever character you have at the time. So will that, but like I say, you can switch it over when you're using an Alch or not an Alch, and that one obviously will change when you change your character or class. Abilities. So you have, it says PvE and PvP, but it's actually, it depends whether you're in group or whether you're solo or whether you're actually PvP. So these change, you'll see here. They're different to those ones. But anyway, the ones that we use with PvE are mostly these ones, which is... that's your main attack. That's like a combustible solution which you throw, and if you fire that on top of it, it ignites it, damages everything in that area. These are your slimes, or predatory ectoplasm, if you want to call them that. Protective membrane. This thing is like a shield, but it reflects damage as well. It doesn't do a lot. It tends to just buy you time. So you put that over yourself and let things charge up a bit. This is a shield. This is one I use a lot. This gets affected, I believe, when you get some deeds, which will increase its time and strength as well. So very good thing, that used a lot. That one is another one which is like a terminal that drops and everybody can use it. Makes you invulnerable for a few seconds and is quite useful when fighting big bosses and they're about to do some serious damage to everybody. They basically drop that just as the boss is about to do massive damage, and everybody can shield themselves and not die, hopefully. That is a stimulant injection. That is something you put on your friends and it makes them a bit stronger. It'll do, I think, 3. Used to be the closest 3, but I think it's more random now than that. That is a thing we shoot up in the air and it just basically sprays everything underneath you and does damage. And that is your heal. That will shoot you up in the air. It will heal you a small amount, and it will heal people that are underneath the jet. So you can, if you gather all your group together, you can heal them all at the same time. And these are just buffs, I think, for doing damage to shields and things like that. Now if we go to this one, this is same things there. That's the same predatory plasm things. Biotrap, that you throw that at a boss and it weakens. Is it weakens him or? Yeah, basically people who, when everybody fires at it, it'll do more. They'll do more damage, so it will weaken the boss. That's your shell again, or your shield. This shield, actually, I forgot to mention, you can put it on yourself, but you can actually target a friend and put it on them. So if you've got one player who's in trouble, or you've got a tank you want to, you know, shield, then you can actually shield them with that from a distance and keep them alive. That one we covered. That's the same stimulant. This one is a very useful one. This one is actually, quite often this gets used just before a fight with a big boss or a tough fight. Basically it sprays everybody around you, or close enough, and makes their damage 30%, is it? Yeah, 30% more damage for 9 seconds. So a good start to fighting a big boss. And those ones we've covered again. And that's pretty much what the Alchemist used. Now, the Alchemist, as far as using Alchemist, when you first start using it, you're probably going to find you'll be using it really more only in groups, because you'll be playing it as a support class. You won't really take it around much solo playing, because you will get hurt or you just won't do enough damage with it. Later on, however, you'll get deeds for it if you pick the right ones. Now the one that's going to be for support classes, this goes for the light binder as well, is this one. And you see here damage of your defense and support specialization classes in divine form is increased by 15% for each level of this bonus. Then you've got health bonus increased 25% each level of this bonus. God's presence. The cost of turning into God is reduced. That is something you've got to aim for as well when you get your God stuff. This extends the time of your God mode. Durability of shields, that's important for the supports. Aggression of attacks, if you're playing a support class, again, that will become useful, but you have to get to it, obviously. And absorbing incoming damage. God's army ability will also reflect 20% back at enemy. Again, that's support classes. So this is basically around support classes, this one. But like I've said in other videos, I would go, if I'm going God mode, you want to get travels is useful if you're solo. It'll reduce your cost of turning into God, all these things. And there's various other things, your damage is increased, that kind of thing, so that's always a good one to start with. God of Authority is also a good one to start with. And I always say God of Hunt is a good one as well. Purely because this will increase the amount of damage you do in your God mode, and if you can do more damage, it'll get you through things easier and quicker, and you'll rank up a lot quicker. So that's always one to go for, but I'd probably start with Authority. If you intend to go support, then obviously you want that one, but Authority, God of Travels definitely, and God of Hunt. In fact, these other ones I still don't even have them, because they're not really that important. If you're a PvP player, then you want that one. But anyway, getting back on track. What we'll do is we will come out of there, and we'll just quickly run through a couple of the bits for this. Now, I don't know if I'm going to kill him one or not here. So basically, this is your main fire. This is your like combustion stuff. It will damage, obviously, like that. I can probably do it on this one, where you throw it once, then you fire once, and it didn't show it. There, you see that explosion, that's the detonation where it blows up. C is that terminal. It comes down like that, and if you click on it, anybody can click on it, you become shielded for that long. It's not long. We'll try 4, which is reflect damage. And as you see, it doesn't really do a lot. It gave them a bit of damage whoever attacked, but it's more, like I say, a breathing space. Go on to V, which is the shoot up in the air and damage everything. Like that. And 3 you can't see because you really need to be in group for that one. And R is the heal, which is that. That basically heals me. You can move around and heal people. And that pretty much covers the Alch. There's not much more to it, really. The only thing I would say though is, when you're starting out, I mean, learn Alch in groups, but I wouldn't necessarily use it like solo play much to start with, because you're going to find it's not going to be very strong. Once you pick up your deeds and it increases the strength and you get your buffs for it and abilities and that, then it will become a lot better. But to start with, you're going to find it a bit tricky. I mean, even now it's not necessarily the best damaging thing, but in solo, like I say, you can damage multiple targets with this at a time, whereas other classes you can damage multiple targets, but you'll have a cooldown, whereas this doesn't have a cooldown for that, so you can constantly just keep doing that if you wanted to, damaging everything in that area. But I'd probably, like I say, would start with tanks and damage dealers when I start playing, and progress to this a bit later on. I mean, by all means, use it. You're going to need it in groups, that's for sure. But you don't need more than sort of 1 or 2 Alchs in a group anyway. Just kill this thing. You'll notice the slimes are sort of, you've got green ones, the gold ones are actually strong. I think they're radioactive or something like that. They come out green to start with, but if you leave them long enough, don't use them, you'll get a little symbol comes up and tells you like the stronger ones are ready. And there it comes now. So now if I do it, it should be gold. And they are stronger, definitely. Right, on to symbols. And they are there. Symbols. Now you've got a lot of different ones to choose from. These here, these things, you'll see these things drop. I have this one. You've obviously seen it drop before when I get in a fight. I don't know if we can actually activate one or get one to drop.
And his man-tied allies.
All that does is drop that thing. Then if I run into it, it basically explodes and damages everything in the area. And I use that one again because I play a lot of solo. All the targets are on me, so they're very useful for doing a lot of damage to everything attacking me. If you're playing in groups now, you can use whichever ones work for you at the time. This one will drop one you pick up, and you can actually target your enemies with it. That'll just make you run faster, I think, that one. This one I think heals the weakest ally if it gets picked up. So, depending on your situation, you choose whichever one for that particular gameplay. I mean, I use these ones solo, but I will change them around when I'm playing in groups sometimes. This basically throws out like an electric ball. You see them fly over sometimes when I'm fighting. Again, we might be able to see once I start shooting, they normally shoot out. Again, it's like a random thing, so. There they go, there goes one. Just saw it fly over in the air. And another one. That's basically what those things are. Just get rid of these. You'll also see I've got that one, that comes into play as well. That's, as I do that, it'll drop a bomb. It's got a cooldown as well. And it'll basically sit there for a few seconds, then hit targets that you are attacking. So back to symbols. Yeah, this one is a shockwave. If you do what I just showed you with the dash, that will send a shockwave out in front of you. It's useful, but you've got to sort of target your enemies with it. That's another similar one to that. And what about this one? This will stun enemies around you again. It's probably activated on the dash, maybe? Yeah, on the dash. Right, this one is this is shields, I think. Incoming damage is completely blocked if it exceeds 10% of the character's maximum health. That's useful if you, when you start out. Later on it won't be so useful because things won't exceed, once you become a lot stronger, things don't necessarily exceed 10% of your health doing damage to you, but they will when you start. So that one is quite a good one to use at the beginning. You'll move on to this one probably later on. For every 10% health lost, you gain an effect that reduces damage by 40%, and it lasts for 6 seconds, so it just slows down your damage. That one again reduces damage each time you get hit for 6 seconds, but it's 2.5%. And this one's actually a very important one. This one, if you go into a fight area where it's a long drawn out fight against bosses, or sometimes in distortions and things like that, this one will resurrect you. Well, you won't actually die. As soon as you get down to really low health, or literally as you die, it will restore 30% of your health. So basically it resurrects you for 30% of your health. And you can use it, it gets used once, it's automatic, so basically it gives you a second life, which can be useful, like I say, when fighting big bosses and things, or if you're doing long fights in groups. That is Pain Shock. That's you'll see an E comes up every so often, and if I hit E, the key E, it gives like a bolt of lightning kind of thing, and it does a lot of damage to targets. Now it's really useful because these ones here will send out damage all enemies, whereas this one you actually target the enemy you want to damage, so it's useful for damaging just the main boss. I mean, that'll even your damage out over a lot of targets, but that will put 183 million damage on one target for me, so that's why I use that one. Reflective barrier, flex damage back. That one is a protective dome. The trouble with the domes and things like that is if you actually move, the dome's gone. So you can't move, which is a little annoying, and it's so easy to forget, and you end up moving and then your dome's gone. Then you've got a cooldown again. Useful in groups though, if you know you're going to use it, or if you're set up to use it, somebody's sort of told you, right, you're going to use that dome at that point, then very useful. Companions attack. That's just, I think they're all companion attacks, yeah. So your companion will basically do all sorts of different things depending on what companion you have and what else you've got equipped for it. We'll have a look at that in a minute actually. This is for special weapons, how much damage they do or how they do damage to certain things. These are the weapons I believe that when you the enemy drops that you can pick up and use. Things I don't really worry about these too much because you've only got the weapon for a short amount of time, so just get one that's got like a high damage. That's good enough. And this one, enemy discharge. Yeah, this one's actually quite useful. This one I use here. Don't really notice it unless there's one thing I fight and you see it comes out and it takes like all enemies around you, which is really good. Doesn't do huge damage, but it's a pulsating damage, so it kind of does a little bit of damage to everything. That's affected one target. But like I say, yeah, that's less damage, but that'll do more damage on one target that you pick. That'll stun targets, or the target. And that increases damage of your next attack. And all of these things, they pretty much activate kind of randomly. Same with that, it builds up over time, that one. That again is just a random thing, and they drop randomly as well, so most of this is just kind of random stuff. And this is where you've seen me use it before, the hammer is that one. Then you've got other ones which are swords. There's a staff. But you'll have to read into those which suits your character, and there's those which I don't have. In fact, I have that one as a temporary thing at the moment, 24 hours, so might try it out, see what it's like, but you need to, I think, fight avatars to get the fragments to get these. And these, I think, are all new ones, which are all locked. But, like I said, they'll follow the same routine as all those. And that's your abilities. Now one other thing you can actually do is you'll see here you've got numbers. You can set up basically 4 different groups of the symbols. I mean, I've only got this one. I used to have a second one. I actually deleted it today actually because I was fiddling around before this video with this, and I had one set up from a long time ago, but for some reason it kept activating this one when I was on this one in game, so I actually just removed them all. Just have the one, so I don't get that. I don't know if that's a bug or whether it was just a sort of glitch at that moment. But anyway, you can select your various ones. So basically, you can kit yourself out here for solo play. Kit another one out for group play. Another one for PvP. So just makes your life easier. Then just switch to whichever one before the mission. And while I think of it, this one I said here, which basically gives you like resurrection if you die or get really low on health, gives you 30% health back. You can actually get that from here. I think is it this one? Yeah, fatal damage. So if you die, you'll resurrect one time in the game, or in that mission, and you'll gradually recover up to 70% of your health. But it will cost you, I think it's 80 Victor's medals? 70 Victor's medals, there you go. So basically you lease it for 24 hours, and then each time you go into a mission, like I say, you won't die, you'll resurrect. So when you're fighting tough bosses or one it takes a long time to get to, that might be worth something splashing out a few victor's medals on. But save it till you're fighting sort of, you know, in groups, avatars and that sort of thing. Unless of course you just want to splash out on it, it's entirely up to you. So anyway, that's all your symbols, and you'll pick whichever ones, like I say, best suit you and for the circumstance. Like I said, this is fine for blowing stuff up in the area, but that's better for targeting, or like throwing grenades almost, which can be useful if you're playing in groups when the enemies are all split up, but that's probably more useful when they're together. But then you might just want to have something that heals the weakest player, or heals you. Now, the best thing to do is with these is sit down, read through them, whichever ones you've got unlocked. Obviously that will limit you as well. Read through them and then set up each one for each scenario that you're going to, or whether you're going to be group or single player or PvP.